Jimenez. I am part of the Common Power Fieldwork team, and I am here today with my colleague Jessica, and we'll be going over our Common Power Training 103.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Jessica. I'm also part of the fieldwork team, and this is our volunteer travel workshop in which we prepare you to talk to voters the CP way when we go into the field this fall. Okay, these are just some quick Zoom reminders. This is a recording. But in general, when you are entering our Zoom rooms, we do want to make sure that we are muting ourselves when when we are speaking as the trainers, and to save our questions for the Q&A and use the chat. All resources that we mention in these trainings and upcoming trainings, we will send them to you via email afterwards, and turn on your camera when you are in those live trainings. Okay. Our agenda for this training is going to be, we're going to start with our common power values. What is the CP way? And then we're going to go into our fieldwork principles and then get you guys started on how to travel with common power. Following that, we're going to describe what is it like with us on the ground. We'll go over door knocking the CP way, realities of the field, and we'll go over all of our trip dates for the fall so you guys can mark your calendars and book your flights. Okay. So how do we field work? So here at Common Power, we prioritize our community, our people above all else. And so these are the three kind of guiding values that we have to really build and structure our fieldwork teams in the fall. So number one is we travel in teams. Anytime that we go on a trip, we are always operating in a group, in community. We have volunteer team leads who guide you on and off the ground. They'll guide you through the entire process of signing up for a trip, door knocking during the trip, and then afterwards, how do you stay in touch with us in Common Power? So we always do a team-like structure when we're out in the field. Number two is in community. We have a lot of workshops and trainings and programming on the ground that we do to kind of facilitate community building in ways that we can get to know each other through carpools and really being in the shared space together as we experience this big political moment right now. And number three is with local partners. This is something that guides all of our field work. We never do the work without going through a local partner on the ground. So whenever we are door knocking or we're even doing phone banking, we always go through our partners. We never come in wearing a Common Power shirt. We always go in showing up for the people who live in the communities that we're entering. And so we follow their lead, and they'll let us know exactly where they need us, how they need us, and what to do. And so these are the three kind of guiding principles in how we do field work here in Common Power. Some other more specific principles in terms of how we operate. Number one is we intentionally work across race and generation. Even within our own leadership team, we are very multi-generational, multiracial. If you look at us on the streets when we are out in the state teams, it is a huge mix of young, old, Black, white, BIPOC people who are all operating on the ground together. And we are very intentional about this because we know that the best difference that we're going to make is crossing all of those divisions and barriers that people like to think exist. And so when we operate on the ground, we make sure that we are intentional about grouping people together, about being this one big community all together. Number two is our value on the ground is more than our canvassing. What this really speaks to is that our value is more than just the number of doors we knock. We really want to respect and support each other while we are doing this hard work. And so if we need to take a break and some people, need to go get coffee or they need to go to the bathroom, we are going to stop our canvassing operation so that everyone feels comfortable and safe in continuing and doing the action. That's really the best way that we continue and sustain this work, is that if we protect and our health and our safety out in the field. And so our value on the ground is really about being a part of this community and taking care of each other. Number three is to trust the process of our partner organizations and respect the time they give us. As I said before, we really rely and we trust on our partners to tell us where to go and what to do. A lot of us come from Seattle. We are based in Washington, and the way that we do things here is not the same as it's going to be in Michigan or Pennsylvania. And, we might think because we come from a big liberal state that we know best. That is absolutely not true. The partners know best about how to talk to their community, which voters to talk to, and what issues do they care about. And so when the partners come in and they tell us, hey, we need you to go here, we need you to talk about this, that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to trust what our partners say. And number 4 is if it will help, we don't say no. We are ready to be of service. This goes along with number 3, but we really are there to support our partners. On the trips, you might be asked to do more than just canvassing. You might be asked to attend a rally because our partners say, we need more bodies at this rally. We want the people power. So we need you guys to go to this rally. We want you to stop door knocking for an hour and go here. And we will say yes because our partners know what they need and we're here to help them. We're not here to question or tell them what to do. And so anything that they ask of us, we are going to do it. And so that is part of how we do things on the ground. Things might not always happen the exact way you think it might be, but it all is in terms of supporting our partners the best that we can. 100% comfortable with 70% certainty. This is a big saying in Common Power. And this is just to say that trust in the process. A lot of our fieldwork team here and our team leads that we train, they are all here to support you. And with that, there are new political developments happening every single day. And there are a lot of moving pieces when it comes to travel in particular. And so we just put this little kind of disclaimer before we go out in the field that things are going to change, plans are going to change. You might think we're going to one neighborhood and then suddenly we're asking you to go to a different one. All of that to say that the team leads and the staff are here to support you. We might pivot really fast, but we'll give you all the tools and the resources to do that as quickly, as safely, and as efficiently and productively as possible. So just trust in us, and we'll trust in you, and we'll be a support system for each other. Okay. I want to travel. How do I get started? So this is going to get into kind of the nitty-gritty logistics of what travel with Common Power looks like. And so we're going to take you through how do you actually travel. So at Common Power, we travel in community across the country and partner with local organizations to knock on doors and get out the vote. The way we do that is through state teams. We do not send volunteers randomly to different states on their own. Every time we travel, we always do it in teams. And just some of these key elements here, just for your own mind keeping, is that number 1 is volunteers pay their own way and can join for any number of days. Our trips are usually booked for Friday all the way through the Wednesday. So you travel out on Friday and you door knock for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then you fly back home on that Wednesday. Volunteers can join for any number of days. We will take you for 1 day and we will take you for all 5 days. And so it's really up to you and what you're available for. There are team leads who guide our volunteers on and off the ground. So our team leads, who are all volunteers, they really guide you on how do you actually sign up, where are the communications coming from, where are the hotels and flights that I should book, and they'll guide you all pre-departure and also during the trip. And so when you're actually on the ground, they'll be the ones to tell you to go to which specific neighborhoods and pass out which literature. They'll be the ones to organize all the details for you. We also do state teams in partnerships with local efforts. As I was saying, we always like to work with a local organization, whether it's the state Democratic Party that's there or it's a local grassroots organization. We'll always go through some local entities to make sure that we know that we are supporting the community the best that we can. And then lastly, we also have Fieldwork Assembly, and that is just made up of different kinds of programming that we have on the trips. They are opportunities to learn about the communities that we enter in, to learn from local people who live there, who reside there, and are experts of the issues that voters care about. And also they are spaces for us to develop and learn from each other and have hard conversations across difference. And so we are very intentional about the programming that we offer on our state teams. Okay, which state teams? So this map, you're going to see it quite a lot. It's going to be on our website and it's going to be on all of our resources. But this is how you can kind of decide where you're going to go in the fall. We do have it color coded and it is color coded by priority. So each state has its own level of priority, which is where we need volunteers the most. This is decided by just the national political agenda and our fieldwork team. Which states are going to make the most national impact based on the number of doors that we knock there. But specifically right now, because we are having different capacities for different trips, we are recommending that you guys choose to go to Michigan, Montana, North Carolina, Texas, or Ohio. This is kind of a living slide right now, so those recommendations might change in a couple of weeks. But if you have the capacity to choose where you want to go, we definitely recommend there. We want more people door knocking in those states. But otherwise, we recommend just following the list of priorities or wherever you're closest to, and whatever you're available for, we would love to have you guys. Okay, state teams to regions. So how we actually organize our state teams, because we do have 14 different states that we are working on, and that is a lot of different Zoom meetings to go to. We've actually consolidated clusters of state teams into regions. And so we now, for the fall season, we are operating in a regional model. And in this sense, you don't have to go to 4 different Zoom meetings if you want to travel to 4 different states. Rather, if you're sticking to one kind of region, one area, and decided to hop from state to state, we've kind of collapsed those meetings into a region. So you can go to one meeting and get information for 4 states at one time. So as you can see, there's the West regional meetings, which, pertains to California, Montana, Oregon, Washington. All those state teams will fold into one larger West regional meeting. And also, to make it easier for volunteers to move easily from state to state, we've also staggered our trips so that if you wanted to go from California to Montana to Oregon, those trips are side by side, week after week. So then if you did want to do a long haul, you could also do those trips one after the other. And so that is how we've organized our state teams. And if you decide to go travel with us and you're going to, let's say, Arizona, you can expect to attend a bi-weekly regional meeting for the Southwest teams. And that's exactly how we'll organize all of our trips coming up. So we don't have to waste everyone's time going to 1,000 different Zoom meetings. And this is also just a visual of those regional models that I was describing. So if you follow the color road here, our trip dates are staggered by region for volunteers to easily hop to neighboring states. So as you can see for the blue color, the brown color, that's our West regional model. So if you wanted to, you could go from Montana straight to California, straight to Oregon, and then back to Montana, back to California. Of course, certain states with asterisks are going to have unique dates to them just because that's how it worked out in the planning. But overall, this is a great map to see, like, hey, if you can go for multiple weeks, it might be easiest for you to kind of stick to one color road so that you are not hopping 6-hour flights back and forth. Okay. And to how to actually join a state team. So here are the steps to actually join a team. Number one is to visit our website. Our website has all the resources and links that we're going to cover in this training. But the first step is to go to volunteer in our Find Action page to find our door knocking opportunities. From there, it's going to take you to a state teams map. It's that map I showed earlier that is sorted by priority. And if you hover over any state, just like it is on Nevada, you can see who your team leads are. And then you can click on it and it'll take you right into the Team Nevada group. And all you have to do is put in your name, number, and email, and you can join the group. This is not a commitment to go travel, but rather it's a way that you can just stay in the loop of the travel opportunities, the travel information that the team leads are providing. And if you decide to go travel, that is when you can fill out the official trip sign up form. And those will be provided to you from the team leads after you have joined the group. So there is a 4-step process actually to actually join a trip, but it is really important that you join the Mobilize group, which is that number 3 here. So you have all that information in the updates as they're coming in. And then number 4 is to actually join a trip sign up form. Each individual trip will have their own form. So if you wanted to go to Nevada in week 1 and then Nevada in week 4, those will be different trip signups. You need to do those all. So you can't just sign up once, you got to do all of it. And that's how the team leads will know that you're joining them and they can best prepare. So please follow all of these steps when you're joining a state team. And after you sign up to the Mobilize group, you can also expect to receive all of these things. Number 1, you're going to get the regular weekly emails. Those will come every week from the team leads. They'll provide you just logistical updates in terms of their planning and the travel. Number two, invitations to those regional meetings I was talking about. Those are bi-weekly, every Wednesday and Thursday. Number three is the official travel sign-up forms. Those are the forms you need to sign up on if you're going to actually be on the ground. The team leads will not know unless you fill out those forms. Number four is the trip overview document. This is a large document that every state team puts together, and it'll tell you exactly where they're door knocking, which candidates that they are supporting, and all the information that you need, all the way down to what's the weather going to be like in that team. And then number five is our team and trip Slack channels. We do use Slack when we are on the ground, so you don't necessarily need it before you arrive on the ground, but it is highly encouraged. And this way you can be in live communication with your team leads and also with Common Power staff and join our community spaces there, hear announcements. So really the Slack channel is the best place for you to ask your questions and to meet other volunteers. And then lastly, the last thing that all volunteers go through before they go travel is that last trip orientation meeting. Every trip will have its own orientation meeting. It does not fall under the regional meeting structure. Every trip will have its own orientation, and that's kind of like your last touch base with your team leads, and you can ask all your last minute questions at that meeting, and every team and team leads will tell you when those meetings are. And just to cover what the cost is of a fieldwork trip, there is a lot that you do have to book. So as a volunteer, you guys do pay your own way. And so these are just estimates of how much there will be. Usually it is actually a lot cheaper because the earlier that you book, the cheaper the flights are. And we do also offer a hotel discount, a group rate for Common Power volunteers. So every team and every trip will have their own hotel that all the volunteers are encouraged to stay in. And in that hotel, it comes with their own group rate. So it's slightly discounted. You're getting a better deal. But in general, the total estimate will be $2,500 per trip. Okay, and I think now I'm going to pass it over to MJ for what is it like on the ground with Common Power?
Wow, that was a lot of great info. Thanks, Jessica. Also, apologies for my yawning there doing that. Okay, so now you've heard of, what is it like to even like talk about travel, like how much, what can we expect? And now I'm gonna go over what is it like to actually be on the ground with us. Go ahead, Jessica, thank you. Let's take a look at our primary season this fall. This spring, we took a lot of teams out to different states for primaries, and Team PA was one of the best ones I heard. April was their primary, and they had a great time. I mean, you can see from their faces, they look really happy. 35 volunteers, as you see, and as Jessica noted as well, it's intergenerational, interracial, as you can see in this beautiful photo of all those beautiful people in this photo. 4,600 doors, that's amazing. 4 days of door knocking. And again, like as I mentioned, multiracial and multi-generational in this photo and in the team. So definitely represents truly what Common Power is. All right. Leadership intentionally diverse across age and race and age. As you can tell from the photo and from a little bit of what Jessica explained earlier, we work in teams, and these teams are multiracial, multi-generational, and it's amazing to see how they work together to build this leadership structure and to build more leaders of the future. So it's really cool to see once you're on the ground of how this is developed throughout the 4 days or 5 days that you're there. Team leads. So this is one of the ways that we really build onto that leadership model, is that we support and bring out team leads to lead these teams of people on the ground. Your team leads plan and lead your door knocking trip, and they are responsible for preparing teams for travel, organizing with our local partners, communicating trip logistics, supporting volunteers, and running debriefs on the ground. These are all things that you'll see happen on the ground as you are going through the days. And you'll see the young folks and the older folks and the intergenerational, interracial community that is making this happen. So it's really cool to see that once you're there, how they interact and how they lead the team. They're not responsible for being your concierge throughout the trip, being experts in all things Common Power, politics, and etc. Please do not expect that these amazing team leads who are doing such a great job in leading you on the ground to also have to respond to millions of questions that they might not even know answers to. So, have a little patience and grace for them on the ground because they're already doing so much. Building a community. Wait, go back. Building a community, thanks. This is actually the best part, I think, about Common Power and how it differentiates from other organizations, I would personally say, is that of course, we care about the doors that we knock and we care about how many we knock, but most importantly to us is how building a community makes it so that feels effortless at times, right? Door knocking 100 doors might feel a little bit less effortless when you're doing it with other people, when you're doing it in community. And so this is why building a community is such an important piece of our work together. New carpools every day, debriefs in the morning and at night, community assemblies, support, and fun. So when you're on the ground with us, you're not just getting the piece of, let's go canvas 100 doors in a day or whatever number of doors. You're also getting this building of a community and being part of that building of that community. So it's a really cool feeling, and you'll definitely experience it once you're there. Awesome. And this is our fieldwork equation that we're really proud of and really excited to present to you all, because it really kind of defines who we are on the ground. It defines what you can expect and how you can expect things to kind of flow. So voter engagement, of course, is like one of the most important pieces here. Political education, we also want to educate everybody around the state that we're in and what the politics around that state. Why is it important that we're there to support the candidate or the community that is down there? And then, of course, like I mentioned, leadership development is a really big piece as well, because, we can't do this alone. And in the future, we're going to need leaders to continue to lead us. And so leadership development is a really good, important piece of it all as well. Conversations and community across difference. So these pieces together really make up what you can expect to feel and how you can be engaged on the ground with us. Voter engagement, walk door to door. So we're just going to go over these different pieces. Voter engagement, walk door to door in pairs and talk to voters to get them to the polls. So this is one of the biggest pieces, of course, and why you are probably thinking about going to travel with us. And then the next piece, as mentioned, is, go ahead, Jessica. The next piece is political education, and it provides a deeper understanding of the communities we are talking to and touching, and make us better volunteers because of it, right? Understanding the context of why we are maybe like door knocking for a specific candidate, or why it matters that we're going to a specific neighborhood is really important on how you might, are like how you might knock that door. So it's really important to us that we get this context and this background. And then the next piece is leadership development. It creates space for the next generation to learn and explore their leadership skills. And it's really cool because other folks in our group or in our team, might already have big jobs or jobs in different things and different maybe corporate or in organizations, nonprofits. And so it's a really great way for everybody to come together and kind of teach each other what we all know. And it builds a really great way to continue that building of the community. So yeah, leadership development is definitely a highlight, I think, for the young people, but also for the older generations. And then Dialogue for Democracy is relatively new to us in programming, but essentially it is an awesome part of our program that provides techniques and tools for communicating across difference. As you see, everybody in this room, even in this picture, is intergenerational, interracial. And so we want to make sure that when we're on the ground, we're able to communicate across difference in a positive way. And we have Dr. Devin Gary, and Mary Ingram, who are amazing at providing facilitation for that. CP on the ground and a typical itinerary. So we've told you about how many days you might expect to be there. We told you how much it might cost, but this is actually a really good way to kind of put it together. So Jessica explained and mentioned that we might leave on a Friday, right? A lot of our trips are going to start maybe Friday to Wednesday. And so Fridays are travel day. And that is when everybody is expected to travel if you're traveling as the team. And so will leave from wherever you are to the location, to the state that you're going to. And then Saturday is when we're going to start our canvassing. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are our canvassing days. And then Wednesday is when we'll travel back home together. So this is kind of a typical itinerary of the week that you can expect. CP on the ground, a typical day, right? So in the mornings we do a quick check-in. That's at the hotel most of the time. So if you're gonna be staying with us, which I highly recommend, to stay with the group wherever they're staying, because it makes it easier for you to kind of show up to these check-ins. And it's just like a great day to start the day with everybody and understanding what the day is gonna look like. So morning check-in and carpools, you'll get your carpools assignment, your turfs and lit, and then the plan for the day, so that you don't feel like you're missing anything. During the day, it's mostly like a 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. day, and that includes canvassing and carpools, and it also includes with the breaks and lunch. So basically your day is looking 9 to 5 p.m. if you're looking at the check-in as well, right? So 9 to 5 p.m. is kind of around the amount of hours that you'll be out with the team. It goes by really fast, I will say, and also including the breaks and lunch. So it's a really great day. Partner opportunities, surrogate events, launches with partners and rallies. I think Jessica mentioned that sometimes we don't just canvas, sometimes we're asked to show up at a rally or show up to an event to support our partners, and so that's part of it. And the times will vary because it depends on the partner. Fieldwork assembly, as we mentioned, this part of the fieldwork, our fieldwork assembly includes political education, leadership, and sometimes will include dialogue for democracy. So just be prepared to have this included in your day. And it might also come at various times depending on the schedule. Yeah, depending on how the day is going and what the teams believe is the best time to have this time. And then debrief and dinner. Check in at the end of the day, set agenda for tomorrow. Dinner will either be on your own or be with the whole team. So this also is depending on how things are going. If the team, had time to plan a dinner for the team. A lot of these are, and I'm going to go back to the 100% comfortable with 70% certainty, because a lot of the days and things can change throughout the day. So we do ask for that support in a way of just having flexibility, because things might change. So the debrief and dinner, for sure debrief. We always want to have a debrief at the end of the day so that we can all come together and express how we feel after a long day of canvassing and being together. Good. Door knocking the CP way. Is this you?
I think so.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Covered it faster than I thought. Okay, door knocking the CP way. How do we do it with common power? Oh, it's not changing. Oh, there we go. Okay, tools of the trade. So these are the things that you're physically going to need to bring with you when we do go out door knocking. Number one is your cell phone. Super important. I don't know anyone who goes out regularly without their phone, but this is how we communicate with each other, with how we talk to our team leads and find out our carpools. And it's also how we're going to actually talk to voters, because we do use a minivan app. And so a cell phone is super important when you go out to go door knocking. Number two is literature, or also abbreviated as LIT. These are the physical papers that you leave on people's doors or you give to voters as resources. We always get them from our partners, and they usually include critical information such as polling locations or election day times or candidate information. So those are always the things that we carry with us and we leave if we're not able to talk to a voter, or we hand directly to a voter as a resource. Number three is a bag or backpack with water, snacks, and a battery pack. As MJ said, we are out all day, so it is a long time. So you do you want to make sure that you have your water, that you have a battery pack. The minivan app does drain your phone battery very, very fast. So we always encourage anyone who's traveling with us, please bring a battery pack. But otherwise, we do also take bio breaks and coffee breaks. So, if you happen to forget your water bottle one day, you're not going to be super dehydrated. We will stop to get water for you. And also, team leads are also, they will usually also buy large water jugs to fill your water bottle in the beginning of the day. And number 4 is a partner org t-shirt and or button. So this is really based on the partner. Most partners are very, very generous with us and they always give us a huge stock of shirts that we can take from. And so we all get to go in the field wearing matching shirts. Otherwise, they will provide some kind of symbol or button or something so that when you're at the door, you can just point to it and say, hey, I'm with Mission for Arizona. I'm here door knocking with them. I'm here to talk to you about the election. So some kind of indication that you are here to talk about voting in the upcoming election. So these are all the things that we do ask our volunteers to be ready to pack and bring with them on the day out for door knocking. Most importantly is Slack on the ground. So this is how we actually communicate with each other when we're out in the field. And so if you look on that panel to the right, that is what the Common Power Slack looks like. For trip logistics purely, the Slack is going to be really great to access number one, your team trip channel. That is basically an open forum for all the volunteers who are on the same trip to communicate to one another. This is super great because oftentimes there's a lot of kind of self-organizing about dinner. If people put in the chat, hey, I'm going to this place for lunch, oftentimes 5 other cars will also join you there for lunch. So it's a great space to just communicate with your entire team when you're on the ground. And number 2, your team leads actually do use Slack for you guys to create chats for your daily carpool. We do change up our carpools every single day, and you guys are exiting your cars and walking across the streets, and you're entering different neighborhoods. And there will be moments where, you and a pair are separated from the other half of your carpool. And so those chats are really important for you guys to all work together on the ground when you are door knocking. And then, of course, number 3 is a great way to directly message team leads or other volunteers, especially if you have questions or concerns when you're out in the field, if something, an issue or a problem comes up. We do want to be able to get in contact with you right away. And so Slack is the best way to do that. And so it is mandatory. If you're going to go travel, you do have to download Slack on the ground. There's no way it's going to work without that. Okay, the Minivan app. So this is the app that we use to actually canvas. Almost every single state in the entire country uses Minivan for door knocking. And what it is, this is what the screen looks like on that left little picture. But essentially, it is a map, and it tells you exactly where to find the voters you need to talk to. And when you click on those little bubbles, which each bubble is actually a household, so that's why there's different numbers for the different number of people in those households. When you click on it, you'll be able to see voter addresses, the script, and also a complete voter profile. So you can kind of see, okay, when's the last time they've been talked to? When's the last time they voted? And you can kind of cater your conversation around that. If you haven't used Minivan before, that's okay. We also conduct live training on the ground on the first day, but we do want you guys to download it beforehand. We don't want to waste any time that we're there to, be downloading the app. So we hope that you come ready, download the app now if you can, and then we'll train you on the ground if you don't know how to use it. Otherwise, there is also technical assistance offered on Saturdays that I do want to plug. Okay, door knocking the CP way. So how do we actually navigate ourselves in the field? So on day 1, we are very intentional about pairing inexperienced people with experienced people. So if you've never door knocked before, don't worry, we are not going to leave you alone. On the first day, we always encourage people, especially if they're new, to stay in pairs. And so that means maybe there are 2 of you going up to every house together. One of you is maybe talking to the voter, and then the other one is probably logging or recording the information on the Minivan app. And so you'll walk through the different turf going house to house with each other in your pairs. And that's on day 1. So that's just to make sure you're getting used to the platforms and used to being in the field. And then on day 2, we do encourage you maybe guys to split up a little bit. You don't have to, of course, but if you're in the groove of things, maybe you guys feel a little bit more confident to take one house by yourself and then your partner is just 2 houses down. You're still in eyesight and earshot. You can see each other and you're on the same street, but you are working in different houses. And so you're kind of finishing up those turfs a little bit more quickly. This is just like a play-by-play of what often happens on the ground. If you want to stay in pairs, that's also totally fine. But by day 3, a lot of people are usually quite comfortable with door knocking by now. They're kind of used to the community and the neighborhoods they're entering. And so you'll probably see this structure by day 3, where you have one person on one end of the street, on the opposite side of the street, and then your partner on the other end of the street on the opposite side. You can still see each other and you can still hear each other if you guys, said hi from across the street, and you guys are operating on 2 different sides and 2 different streets, and you're getting a lot more houses done that way. So this is what typically happens for a volunteer who's never traveled with us before, or never done door knocking. By day 1, you've pretty much got it down. You can do it on your own, but you don't have to. This is just suggestions. Turf tactics. There are also strategies in how you can actually navigate yourself in the field and using the car, because we do operate in carpools. There are about 3 to 4 people in each car. And we do encourage to be as efficient and as safe as possible. So use the car when you are door knocking. Park in a place that's most efficient for 2 pairs to go out of the cars and maybe do a loop and meet back at the car. There are specific strategies that sometimes we'll say, but the goal really is to just be collaborative, to be communicating with the people in your car, and maybe just being direct and being like, hey, I'm going to take this street. Can you guys take this street? Okay, let's meet back here. So communication is really key when we are out in the turfs. Okay. And then door knocking tactics. What are things that you should be aware of when you're physically at the doors? So there are 3 kind of categories of things that you should keep in mind. So number 1 is yourself. When you do approach your door, what is your demeanor? Do you look friendly? Do you look approachable? Or when someone looks outside the door, are they kind of scared of you? You want to make sure that you are as approachable as possible so that people do open the door and want to have that conversation. So these are just a couple of questions to ask yourself. What is your demeanor? Does your knock sound aggressive or friendly? I know some people like to bang, but sometimes that can be kind of scary for people who live in especially Black and brown neighborhoods. You want to keep that knock friendly, not too aggressive. And then number 3 is, are you too close to the voter? We never want to be entering their personal space. We don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, because then they're not going to want to have a conversation with us. Second category to be aware of is the voter. Are they older? Should you wait longer for them to come to the door? What are some issues that could be relevant to their interests? This is kind of going back to using the Minivan app and looking at the voter profiles, and kind of catering the way that you talk to them and things that you bring up that might be more relevant to them. For example, if they are older, then yeah, you should wait for them longer to come to the door. It's going to take them a little bit longer to get to the door to have that conversation. And so looking at all of those features and characteristics that the profile shows will help you out when you're door knocking. And then number 3 is the environment, the community and neighborhoods that you're entering. So when you approach a door, you should look at, is there a side door better used for canvassing? Maybe the front door isn't supposed to be used for door knocking. Or is there a ringer? Can you leave a message? Oftentimes there are a lot of people who are not home, but you can also speak to them through a ringer. A lot of people have spoken to me through the ringer itself, and we've had a full conversation. And just to be aware that there are different ways to approach doors. And number 3, is there a door in the driveway so I can expect an answer? Going back to, should I wait a little bit longer? Should I expect someone to come for the door, or can I kind of cut out and move on to the next house? All right.
Oh, all good stuff. Thank you. Now we're going to go into this part of the training or session where we want to talk and be real about comfort and safety in American neighborhoods. We all know that we take a risk anytime, honestly, we step out of our house. But we want to make sure that we are also conscious and we have awareness around where we are, and kind of similar tips to what Jessica just mentioned, but in terms of our own safety as a person. Go ahead. So this is a chart and kind of that we've created to kind of try to show how we might feel as an individual in certain situations, right? I think for me, I've gone to various different neighborhoods in the country and felt a certain way about certain neighborhoods. A lot of my own personal safety comes from do I feel good in that moment? Do I feel like there's something that I can recognize around me that feels safe to me or that feels familiar, right? And I think familiarity is definitely a safe space for a lot of people. So we just wanted to say, like, it's okay to feel kind of uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you're feeling unsafe. It just means you're feeling like this is not familiar to me, right? So we want to make sure to also recognize that uncomfortableness does not mean being or feeling or being unsafe, right? As well as being too comfortable can also mean that we just aren't getting out of our comfort zone, right? So we want to make sure that we're aware of how we are feeling. And of course, if we are feeling unsafe, then we have to communicate that to our teams. So just make sure that you know where you are in this chart here. And if you are feeling unsafe or signs of unsafeness, then you would of course then communicate to your team, hey, I'm not feeling safe here. But you also have to make sure that you step a little back and you're like, is it because I just feel like I'm uncomfortable, or do I actually feel some sort of threat to my own person? So it's just a way to kind of create awareness for us and say, where are you in this chart at the time that you are exploring these different neighborhoods, at the time that you are out and about with us on the ground? Go ahead, Jessica. Our principles of practice, and this is actually going to help a lot to us around how do we know how to even communicate any certain situations to the team, to ourselves, to our colleagues. And our principles of practice is communication is key online and off. So I think Jessica mentioned earlier, Slack is going to be really important for us to have on our phone so that we can communicate with our team, whether that's if we're at a door and we're like, hey, I don't know about this door, I need some support, or it could be something a little, more than that, like, hey, I'm tired, team, can we take a break? But communication in general is really important. Partners with an eyesight and earshot, as you could tell from the chart, from the example earlier about day 2 or day 1, day 2, and day 3, just make sure that in any of those situations that you are definitely still able to in some way see your partner, or that you can, if there's anything that happened, that you could hear them, right? So make sure that you're also being safe in that way for yourself, where you're in a place where somebody could still see you and can potentially still hear you if you did have to ask for help. So just these practices are going to be really important. And then allyship at the doors, this is also really important. So when you are with your partner and you're canvassing, you want to feel that the feeling of safety even with that person, right? And so one of the things that I do early on with whoever I'm canvassing with is that I introduce myself and I make sure that I'm having an opening communication with that person. And so letting them know, like, hey, I'm a little nervous, could you do this door first? And maybe they'll say yes, right? Maybe they'll be just as nervous as I am. But the thing is, communication is going to help a lot with bringing that anxiety down and also easing up our nervousness together. And so making sure that you feel like you have an ally next to you is so important and will help you throughout the day and throughout your experience with at the doors in general, as well as just in the community that we're trying to build. So make sure that you are communicating with your partner and that you explain and express why something might make you feel uncomfortable or why something might make you feel unsafe. And I'm sure that that person will be glad to help in whatever way that they can to make you feel more at ease, or that they could also express, hey, I'm actually feeling the same way. So it's also a feeling of camaraderie, like being able to do it together. And then steps you might take if something comes up on the ground. Let's say, like you didn't like the feeling of something, or you didn't like how somebody maybe took care of a situation. I don't know, whatever the case may be, just make sure that you're kind of taking these steps to make sure that that you feel like confident in feeling like you can talk to somebody about it, or that you want to try and maybe solve the situation. So observe and assess, right? Make sure that you're observing and that you're assessing the situation. Communicate this to either a team lead or staff on the ground, and support each other. So I think that the communication piece is definitely going to vary, and I think we're going to go deeper into that. And at orientations, you might hear like, if something happens, let this person know, right? So you'll definitely know who to speak to at that time, but definitely observe and assess the situation, communicate your emotions or your feelings around it, and then for sure you'll have somebody who is supporting you throughout. Okay, plan your trips and book your flights. So you've heard all the things today, and I know that was a lot, but it's so important that we tell you all that you need to know in order to assess whether or not this is a good and fitting, I guess, like, situation for you, right? In terms of flying with us, traveling with us, and being on the ground. We hope that the training has helped ease some of your anxieties around it, but also hopefully you're excited and are ready to book your flights. So for the general election, this is our travel calendar. So as you see, there's plenty of work to do, plenty of weekends that are available for anybody to just choose one and, you know, book your flight, book your hotel. And so if you're going to, you know, Arizona or Michigan or Montana and Pennsylvania, there's dates September 20th to 25th. And then, you know, California, North Carolina. So you see all these dates, and these are all the dates that these specific states are traveling. So you have all that information there. And you also have, oh wait, it doesn't have the cities on here. Just kidding. But our travel guide does. So you'll know exactly where you have to travel into. Go ahead. Need technical training? We got you covered for all CPLE platforms. Join our office hours on Saturdays. Shout out to Jenny, who is hosting those on Saturday mornings, 10 to 10:30 a.m. It's just a drop-in Zoom. So if you want to just sign up and get the Zoom link, you are welcome to just step in whenever between 10 to 10:30 a.m. in the morning on Saturdays. And she'll be there to support you to answer questions about Minivan and Slack and other things that you might feel a little confused about. And then if you have any more questions, we do advise everybody to check out our FAQ doc, which has plenty of already answered questions around our travel, where you can go find certain resources. The resources are also on that doc. And of course, our volunteer travel guide, which will literally tell you all that you need to know to make to assess where you want to go, how you want to do it, and your team leads and everybody who's going to be involved with all that. So finally, if you still have questions, you can email us at volunteerhelp@commonpower.org, and somebody from the team will be reaching back out to you to try and help you answer those questions. Well, thank you. We'll get you to the door to help get to the polls. So we're really happy that you're here. Thank you for watching this recording, and we hope that was helpful. And if you need any help, don't forget to reach out.